Back to Ghost. All the way across forecheck. In front! They score! Patrick tips it home! It's a 4-3 hockey game as the kid seems to be enjoying it on the top power play unit. 3-point game for Patrick.
So we are recording, and this is the O&B Puckcast debut on Skype. Yeah, we're trying new things all the time. Chef is not feeling too good, so he will not be on tonight. But we do have Dan, a Flyer fan. Dan, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, and we have a special guest tonight from
Flyers. I don't know about special.
Yeah, you're special. Yeah, anybody overseas is special. Yeah, from Flyer-podden and Flyers Nation, wherever Flyers Nation is, it must be out in Alpha Centauri.
I don't know.
.net. It is Johan Gärtner, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. Waiting for the game to start. I can't believe I'm still watching this team, but here we are. It's going to start 2:30 a.m., so...
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to stay
Just
up
waiting. I don't know... I'm insane, okay? I can't help it. It doesn't matter if they are as bad as they were in 06, 07 or whatever, when they were like dead last, or this year, or when Craig Berube was coaching. I'm still watching. I don't fucking know. I'm insane.
I hear you. I mean, it's just like the Phillies are on the night, and obviously baseball is like the hottest thing right now with those first three games.
Yeah, my Twitter is full of it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, even in 06, 07, I mean, part of it was Holmgren comes in after Clark steps aside. He's like sleepwalking, kind of like Hextall in a way. And they made trades. They got Coburn. They got Upshaw. So, I mean, there was something to look forward to back then. But now, I don't know. It's like doing a review of the games. They got 3 games left. So they got Dallas tonight. And then they got St. Louis and then Carolina?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
First question. What the hell is Scott Gordon doing playing Brian Elliott again, ever? What is that?
I don't know. I saw that today, too, and was very unhappy with that. I don't... Listen,
is he starting today? I haven't checked.
No,
he's starting next game.
Talbot tonight, Elliott in St. Louis.
And then Hart,
And then Hart.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like he's giving out like... You know, like when you were a kid and you played soccer or whatever, everyone got like a participation trophy. Yeah. Feels like that's what he's doing now. Same with the defense. So first it was, Ghost, it's your time to sit, and now it's Gudas, I think, and then it's going to be someone else. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's almost like, wait a minute. I'm thinking like, are you trying to not get this job? Because, what's his name? Fletcher goes out to get Talbot. Okay. So it's coach's choice if you're trying to make the playoffs. But now that the playoffs are out of the picture, just go along with the program. Because obviously the GM wants as much of a look at Talbot as he can get. And apparently, I was listening to Hockey Buzz. They were saying he's rewarding Elliott for his effort in practice or something.
Oh,
and I'm like, I'm going all Iverson. Practice? We're talking about practice. WTF.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I'm so tired of these, if you want to call it bad coaches or like average coaches or whatever you want to call it. I'm so tired of the playing not to lose kind of mentality. I just want them to be fun, play fast. I want them to do exactly what Montreal did.
Exactly.
They went from being like pretty slow, boring team to watch, and now they're like one of the most fun teams to watch in the league. Simply because Claude Julien was like, we're going to play fast. And look, it works.
Yeah.
They do not have the team on paper to be in the playoffs, but they will maybe get it.
Let me ask you something. They still could get in, but Luke Richardson's been given a lot of credit for that, for how he's integrated the defensive structure that Julian wants with that attack mentality, attacking in 5-man units. And he's one of the guys that was listed in a Carchidi article that said if Q doesn't come here, Richardson was one of the guys who's the only guy I would even acknowledge. All the other guys listed there were just
that list
from
is
the total scrap heap.
Yeah, that list is awful. I don't know what could make me not watch this team, considering I'm watching them no matter what the fuck happens. But if they get one of those coaches like Dan Bilesma or something like that, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah.
I am so focused on Quenneville.
I think
I'm not gonna be like irrationally mad if they don't get him because he wants to go somewhere else. But I'm gonna be like, fuck, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I was talking about it with Anthony DeMarco. We were going to have him on tonight because I knew Chef wasn't going to be able to make it under the weather. But we were going back and forth. Anthony from the fourth period has been with us many times, and I think some of these jobs are taken up. Blashill's coming back because there was an early rumor that Q might want to partner with Yzerman if Yzerman takes over in Detroit. And maybe Holland goes to Seattle or somewhere else. All right, that's all out the window, at least the coach part.
I'm a bit surprised they signed Blashill that quick.
He's done a good job. Their structure is really excellent. They just got to add more talent.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he's kind of like maybe an update of Babcock. I mean, he talks like him, does that, but I like the way they play. Detroit...
Yeah.
They're at so L.A. McClellan. They're saying I don't know why McClellan would go to that mess, but for me, I'm looking at all right. Is St. Louis going to keep Berube? Is Boudreau out in Minnesota? And here's a tough one. This is like a dark horse. If Nashville, who's been uninspired all year, goes out in the first round, like really just ho hum, like Chicago did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Is Lavi going to be out, and then Q could plug right in there?
Yeah, I think if I think about it like pretty reasonably, I think that Flyers have a good chance to getting him. I think they are the only team that's not a contender. Like they're the best choice non-contender wise, but you never know if Nashville is going to get rid of Lavi or whatever happens. You don't really know, but I think that. If let's say, I don't even know. Let's say Bruce Cassidy, just to say someone who's on a contending team. Let's say he gets let go because they lose 4-0 in the first round. So Quenneville goes there instead, but that kind of opens up another spot for like a Bruce Cassidy or even Laviolette if he gets fired.
Well, I like Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah. So I mean, if a contending team fires their coach, I mean that coach is going to be available. So even if you don't get Quenneville, you might have a chance to get whoever gets let go from a contending team. But I want Quenneville so bad.
Yeah, no,
I really hope. Yeah.
Dan, who do you think they get if Quenneville's not the guy? If they can't get him?
Oh, jeez.
I gotta guess.
I don't know. Again, I think it really depends on, kind of how the pieces fall. What you guys were just talking about. Who gets fired, if somebody big like Lavi goes. But, I would assume right now that the Flyers have to be, organizationally a favorite for Quenneville. I mean, who else is out there right now? Anaheim and LA are going to need coaches, but would you really want to go to those teams that are going to be, rebuilding soon? I don't think so. So I think that the Flyers at least make the most sense for the time being for Quenneville.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eakin's going to get that job, or Aikens, however you pronounce it, in Anaheim, because he's done a good job with their minor league affiliate. I'm going to take a shot. If we don't get Quenneville, I think Boudreau's out. And I think Fletcher feels like Boudreau inherited an old team, and he would like to give Bruce another shot.
Ugh. No, thank you.
I think that's a possibility.
I think he's a pretty good coach. I just don't know if he's gonna get fired. Maybe he will.
Yeah, well, Fenton's trying to make him younger, but I think he...
Yeah, I don't think that team is especially good, and they got worse when they traded Niederreiter. So I don't know.
No, I think
Minnesota is kind of a weird team.
Yeah.
They have some good players, but they don't have any superstars, really, if you want to... Like, you have a Ryan Suter who's been really good for a long time, and Zach Parise is really good, but it's not on that level. So I feel like they're kind of overperforming, and still not making the playoffs, I think, if I remember correctly. So I don't know.
Right now, they're not going to make that.
I mean, I think if you got Bruce Boudreau, I think that would be a hell of a lot better than Gordon or Hackstall.
Oh yeah.
Without a doubt. But that would be like a second option if they don't get Quenneville, obviously.
Yeah. There's no question. I do think, I mean, certainly either one of those guys would be... I mean, I think I'd rather have Hackstall back than Mike Yeo. People keep talking about that.
Ugh.
The biggest thing for me, it doesn't even have to be Quenneville. It just has to be the right guy. And I mean, it's going to be hard and to get. You don't know if he's the right guy, but they just can't. They can't afford to waste any more time. You have Claude Giroux getting older. You have Voracek. You have Couturier in his prime. Like, you don't have time to waste on another 2-3 years, and then you got to get a new coach again.
No, exactly.
This has to be the right coach.
It has to be the right coach. It has to be the right off season. He's got to hit a home run because, like you said to me, and we said on our last show, everything is framed by Giroux's timeline. So it's go time. I don't know what Ron Hextall was looking at. Maybe he was checking out porn or something. But thank God that's over. So we'll see what happens with the coach. I'm hearing today, apparently, via Hockey Buzz, they're quoting Elliot Friedman. Skinner may not return to Buffalo. Dan, your initial thoughts?
Oh boy, that would be nice. Need that kind of scoring winger. Especially if you're going to keep you're the wing and you need somebody that can really help. Especially if Nolan Patrick's going to remain in the second center. Bringing in anybody they can to help him better his game overall is exactly what they need.
Yeah, he brings pretty much everything. They need speed, they need goal scoring, they need a creative player in the top six that complements a playmaker or can create stuff by himself. So I think it might be difficult because Skinner might get signed before Panarin, but I think that I would use Skinner as like a second option. If you strike out on Panarin, which is... I mean, there's no guarantees because I think every team is gonna try and get him.
Right.
I think if you add Skinner, that would be a good consolation prize.
Yeah, I mean, just the more options, the better. Because UFA market is not really that great this year. After Panarin and Carlson, I'm not a big Duchesne fan because Duchesne doesn't really play hard minutes. He's not as big a scorer as you would expect for a guy who's going to make like $9 million. And then you have a lot of guys that don't do much outside of scoring with Voracek, JVR, and Duchesne on the team. And I don't know if that's really what they need. So that's my feeling on that. But
it's going to be interesting to see what to do because they have so much cap space. And Fletcher got hired for the exact reason to actually use that cap space and be aggressive. So I just can't see them not landing a big free agent or big trade or whatever. They have so many picks and prospects, and they have everything they need to make this team a contender. Maybe not like a top 3 contender, but at least so they're competing.
Well, absolutely. I would think after this offseason, you would look at a really good offseason would be like, you know what? They could make it to the conference final. They're not winning the cup. They might not going to make it to the final. But conference final, if everything goes right, that's kind of where I'm at. Right coach, one UFA who's good, make a trade, then add somebody else in another trade that is like a third-line guy with speed who can kill penalties. And now, and they re-signed Talbot, which I think is the better way to go. I think that's what Fletcher wants to do, according to...
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going to happen with their goaltending, their coaches, and their whole staff. But it just, by the by, if Edmonton has a big blow-up, I'm thinking, what is the chance that Dustin Schwartz, who is the coach of both Hart and Talbot in the offseason, I wonder if he ends up here. Thinking out loud.
Yeah,
I have no information, but they love that guy. But
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a difference based on some things I've heard from people. They really do like that guy. Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, if they really like Carter Hart and they like the uniformity, there was some miscommunication early in the year with Carter Hart, from what I understand. That's been ironed out, so we'll have to see what goes with that. What do you think of Michael Raffl? 2 years, $3.2 million. He's going to be 31 in December, so he'll start the season at 30.
I mean, I think he is a great fourth liner. If I've been kind of on the train on Twitter lately that if this team wants to contend or be better than a bubble team, they will need to be or have as much depth that your fourth line is going to be Raffl, Lawton, and Hartman.
Right.
And that's a good fourth line, which could even be like a decent-ish third line. But if your team is that deep that those three players are on your fourth line, like, that's a good thing. You should not have a player on your team that's worse than Raffl, a.k.a. Knight and Veroni and Van de Velde and all those borderline crappy AHLers. Raffl is an NHL fourth liner. Period. Like, that's it.
No, I agree.
So that's fine.
Yeah, Dan?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people that were very, very angry at this move because they were, jumping to the conclusions that nothing's going to change. But, I mean, Raffl is a perfectly fine player. Perfectly fine fourth liner, safe pair of hands to put out there. You got him for short term and little money. There's nothing to complain about there. I just don't see why everybody got so angry about him.
No.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
No.
If let's say Oberkubel or Rubtsov or whoever young guy that might be close to ready, let's say they are ready and they get called up, and now you have Raffl outside of the lineup, and it's no big deal. It's 1.6.
Yeah.
It's no big deal at all.
No, it's not a big part of the cap. So
Yeah.
I think they filled a spot there. I think that's real important. Like, that's why I'm really big on Talbot's your guy. You got a fourth line piece in Raffl. Solve as many little problems as you can, so you don't go scrambling. I remember this before the season. They were hoping for who's that guy that ended up in Europe? Nick
Shore?
Yeah, Nick Shore, and the whole league passed on him because they
I can't believe that actually. Like, he's like a younger Raffl, really. Like, I don't know why. That's strange, but I think that happens sometimes. There's so many teams and GMs around the league that values players like Knight and Veroni that are actually bad, but they just think they're decent enough to play on a fourth line. So they get kind of put in the same category as Raffl and Shore, who are actually pretty decent players. So if you get an injury in a game, you're not going to lose a game because you have to slot Raffl on the third line or maybe on the second line or whatever, like, for the rest of a game. Like, it's not going to crush you. But I don't know. I thought that was pretty weird that he couldn't get a job somewhere.
Yeah. No, I have to believe a guy who's played in the league is better than Veroni or Knight or some of these. Or Justin Bailey. Look, I love the hustle, but he's like a chicken without a head out there. But
yeah, all he has is speed, unfortunately.
That's it. Yeah, it's like Nolan Patrick had trouble getting out of third gear, and whatchamacallit, Bailey has no reverse anything. He's like one gear and then crashes into the boards. But all right. So looking at the offseason, we're gonna have this big preview with Dave Isaac coming up of the Courier Post. We're real excited about that coming up
cool.
on the 15th and all that. But Bill Meltzer writes an article for the Flyers, NHL.com, and he this is perfect. He said where the team has to improve. He talks about cleaner breakouts and puck management, playing team defense as a cohesive 5-man unit, fewer one and done forays up the ice with the too easy opposing breakouts, clears, and getting the power play back up above 20%, which is the norm for most of the teams in the 2010s. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so you talk a lot about structural things there.
Yeah.
So that to me begins with the coach, but it also extends to the kind of players they're going to bring in here, which is again harkens back to me not wanting a guy like Duchesne. Unless you're moving JVR, to me, Duchesne is a very similar player, except he plays center, but he doesn't play any PK. I think that's why I think it's important they bring a second line center in here and really ease the burden on Nolan Patrick. Johan, what do you think about that?
I think I don't really care if you're. I think if you're going to be a contending team, you need to have at least 3 really good lines. So you will basically have a first line, a second line, and then second line B, basically. So if you have Nolan Patrick on your third line, like that's not a bad thing. They need to get another center. They just need to. You can't count on Frost to be ready, for example.
No.
I wish he was.
Yeah.
I wish he would join the league and just be amazing, but there's no guarantees, and they just can't. You can't bet on it. Same as Hextall shouldn't have bet on Neuwirth and Elliott being your duo.
Lord.
It can backfire, and then you lose the whole season because of it. So adding a 2C, which isn't a knack on Patrick, you're just gonna have to wait like you did with Couturier until he's ready. That's just how it is. He's shown flashes, and if those flashes shows what he's going to become when he reaches his potential, that's going to be really good.
Yeah, I mean,
you're just going to have to wait.
Yeah.
Just how it is.
Patrick could be Patrick could be like an 08 Mike Richards. All of a sudden, Mike Richards was like a top echelon player in 08 after showing some flashes, and it took him a while to figure things out.
Yeah, I've always said that Nolan Patrick to me was always like an early career Sean Couturier. Where the hockey IQ is there and the sense is there and the overall ability is there, but the offense didn't develop right away. Now, again, you can attribute that to Couturier not playing with a lot of good players, but, they let him play on that third line to get really good defensively, and then they moved him up, and he started to excel offensively over the past few years. And I think that's what we're going to see from Nolan Patrick down the line, because, the base of his game is there. His IQ is through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are they going to do about the defensemen? I think they really have to bring in somebody to settle down, like the veteran presence, which people mock and all that. But it can't be. But you need it. I think on defense you clearly need it. But it can't be a schlub like Andrew McDonald. And
that's been the problem before.
Yeah.
Like whenever someone says veteran defenseman, I get flashbacks for like Grossman and Curtis Foster and all that shit. Like that's bad veteran defenseman. They need to add someone. I think everyone knows that Jared Spurgeon is the one talked about quite a lot on Twitter, and for good reason. It makes sense for Minnesota to move him because they're sort of in a retooling state. It makes sense because Fletcher knows him, he loves him.
Yep.
Makes sense on what the Flyers need. He's a right-handed defenseman, can play with Provorov. So if they added him, they could slot everyone else in so well. So you have a Sanheim on the second pair. Everything just slots in perfectly. And you can use Gostisbehere on the third pairing if you want to. And that's a luxury if you have his quality on the third pairing instead of, let's say, Robert Hägg, who sucks.
Oh yeah. Well, that's Hägg is Hägg can compete with Moran and Schlemko for the number 7 position, and he'd be on the team.
Dan wasn't gonna have any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've wanted to see what Moran is for forever. It feels like if he ends up not being as like a anything but a 6 or 7. Like, that's it. I just need to know, because it's so long ago we drafted him. But I feel like if he just doesn't suck, he will bring so many good things on a PK and in your own zone. Like, he just don't suck. Like that's the only thing. I think he could be way better than Heck.
Well, just don't be Boris Volabrik, that guy from the Flames back years ago. Just big dorky guy. Just wasn't a good hockey player. But the thing is, though, the problem at center and on defense, you need guys who can play hard minutes. And the Flyers have really been lacking that player. I mean, everybody's lamenting that Hextall, who loved Ryan O'Reilly, didn't try to get him. Especially
he would have been perfect.
Yeah, especially considering what St. Louis just dumped a whole bunch of excrement and a first-round pick. And people were like...
He's so good.
People were like saying, oh, Buffalo, made a great deal. I'm like, yeah, but those guys don't play hard minutes. I remember Mikey O&B P or something like that on Twitter was saying, how come you think Buffalo is going to miss him? I talked about the hard minutes, and that is something the Flyers are going to need. Now, I got to ask you, how are the Flyers, Johan, like, how are they going to get a guy like Spurgeon or maybe Jacob Trouba's another guy, because, Winnipeg's kind of capped out, without trading a guy like Gostisbehere?
That's the difficult part. But the problem is, I see a lot of people are like, let's trade Ghost for this. Let's trade Ghost for Parayko, which, I mean, I could live with that because I think Parayko is amazing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't solve the problem. They need to add talent. You can't just do a 1-for-1. They need to add players. So they need to get deeper. So they need to figure out a way to get someone who is good without giving up a good player, if you know what I mean. They need to do picks or prospects. They just have to, because this team is lacking serious depth. Like, they have none.
I don't know if that's really possible, because you look at Minnesota and they're trying to go young with guys that can play now. Kind of like Chuck Fletcher did with Hartman. If you look at all the trades he made, he's got guys that are NHL ready. He doesn't want to wait for a Rupsov or somebody like that. Yeah. So that's...
I mean, you have to try, and if you can't find it, then I don't think you have a choice. But I think that it's a mistake trading Ghost 1-for-1 for another type of D-man, because they need to add one, not just do like a 1-for-1. If that makes sense. Oh,
it definitely makes sense. I don't know if it's really possible. Like, if you trade Ghost for Trouba, now Winnipeg has cap problems, and maybe that contract makes Ghost even more attractive. But the thing is, Ghost doesn't play hard minutes that Trouba does, and that's the Flyers' biggest weakness. They don't have enough guys on offense or defense that add to their structure, play tough minutes against the toughest competition, and I think that's kind of effed them over.
I mean, I think that's fair. I get why people make those type of trade deals for like a Parayko. Not that they're going to move him now, but or like Trouba. Like, I get all that, but I think it's not going to backfire, because then you would still get a good player back. But I think that it could kind of not make it move forward. You're kind of going to be the same type of team. Obviously, they can do that trade and still add other players. I just think that if the only thing he would do this offseason is trade Ghost for, let's say, Trouba, I think that's going to be kind of disappointing. And not because I don't think Trouba is a good player. I think he's really good. I just think it wouldn't really move this team to a contending status.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that, to be honest with you. Dan, where you at?
I think it's about adding at this point. I've seen so many people on Twitter that go, oh, well, Nolan Patrick looks like a second-line center. And, oh, well, the top 4D are here now. We don't need to add anybody this summer. And it's like, that's wrong. Just because Nolan Patrick is playing well and Sanheim and Myers have, looked really good, that doesn't mean you don't add anybody. You add people so you don't have to rely on those 4 guys. You can have some of that way. And like Johan was saying, putting Gostisbehere in the third pair. you can have that flexibility. You can have guys that can take some of the minutes away from Provorov, so he can just play his game rather than worrying about being the top guy. You need the bodies right now. You need the talent right now because it's something that they are genuinely lacking.
Yeah, I certainly don't dispute that. I just don't see how you rest a top 3 defenseman in a trade. And if you look at both teams, they're going to want more than futures. So if you could go with other situations, like if you wanted center, like a guy I like is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I know his analytics are not too impressive, but if you look at the profile of his game, he seems like he'd really be a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be a good fit. I think that I'm not really sure what you're going to get with him. I think that I wouldn't hate it. For me, it all comes down to cost, really. But I think if we're thinking about a defenseman, I think you could. Like, you just have to find the right deal, like a Jake Muzzin, for example.
Right.
What did they give for him? Like a first prospect or something? I can't remember. So you just have to find that type of deal. If you can't, then you don't really have a choice. Then maybe you have to trade a ghost for something. I mean, it's hard to speculate what the deal could be because it's difficult to know what you can get for a ghost or what would make sense because he's not coming off the greatest of years, so you don't know what his value is going to be.
Nah.
Which is why I also don't want to trade him.
Yeah, I think that's a little overrated because of like the up and down season that the whole team has had, plus the fact that his contract is so favorable and his age and everything, the whole profile of the player. And he's had a couple, 60-point seasons. So
if he had the same power play production this year as he did last year, he would have around 56 points, I think, when I checked last. So, I mean, the power play being terrible has really hurt his game. And I think that's why he's getting more. Obviously, he's a part of why it hasn't worked. But I think that's a big part of why he's getting more hate than before.
Yeah, I mean, what is Gordon doing on a power play that has no one-timers?
Oh, God.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh.
I get so mad whenever they get a power play. It makes no sense.
It's zero. I mean, this is why, like, okay, Gordon, AHL coach. That's all.
Yeah. Like, that alone is a fireable offense, is what he's doing.
I just want them to clear out, like, the whole coaching staff. I think Gordon has done a good job with the PK and all that. But I just need, like, a new set of eyes on everything, really. Which is a good thing, because if Quenneville got the job, he would bring his own people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So he would definitely get his system in place where everyone is on board. Now we have Gordon, who inherited Ian LePerrier. He got no block. Like, he hasn't picked anyone, and it was the same with Haxtell, really. When Hextall hired Haxtell, it was like, welcome here. This guy is going to be your defensive coach. This guy is going to be your PK coach. Good luck.
Yeah, that was like, to me, I should have seen that. That was a very controlling move, Dan. That Haxtell didn't have like a confidant. He just came in and, well, I guess I'm the college coach and I better keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, it was a bizarre move, and maybe it was because he was a college coach and, this first time in the NHL that he didn't necessarily get to pick his own staff. But it was one of those moves early on that I think should have been a red flag years ago. That Hextall was very controlling.
Yeah. So
I think there would be like another good thing if you got Quenneville. You would actually get. He would bring his own assistant coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they know they all know what Quenneville wants, etc., etc. I see no negatives except that Comcast might have to pay him a fuck ton of money, which is fine because they have a fuck ton of money.
Well, they want.
He wants to be the best paid coach in the NHL. No problem.
Yeah.
Just give him a blank check.
Well, I think if Dave Scott had his way, that's what's going to happen. I think
so too.
This is really, this is the biggest decision they have to make. I think everything will fall into place. If you have Quenneville, that makes the market more attractive. Free agents, if they're straddling the fence, They know the championship pedigree of Quenneville and the commitment the Flyers must have if they're going to get him and the promises they made to get him. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it starts right there.
Yeah, I'm curious and a bit worried about the whole when Dave Isaac and Steph Driver reported that he already got hired in December and then it fell through. I wonder why. I wonder if they thought they had him coming now, or that maybe he told them that he didn't want to take any job before next season. So maybe they have some sort of like mutual agreement that he's going to be the coach after the year, as soon as the season ends.
Yeah, I heard. I wonder. Yeah, I heard that he really thought about it, and he had a change of heart. He just wanted to wait till next season.
Which I'm totally fine with, because then he has time. Yeah.
He couldn't have salvaged this.
I don't know if you guys remember. What was Quenneville's relationship with Panarin? Do you remember that? Or do you know? When he was with the Blackhawks?
I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. The players, he's considered a player's coach. And he wants to play fast. He was saying that back in 2010. He kept saying, play faster. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking of that. But in terms of, to answer your question directly, I'm not sure.
Because I think I have like when I think about it, I remember, I don't know if it's true, but I remember something like that he got mad when they traded him for Saad.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, looking at the quick Google search here, that looks like what comes up is that he was not happy when they traded him for Saad, and that they were excited when they got him back. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, and that was something that Taze wanted, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
And, Brandon Saad is a guy who had a couple good years when the team was good, and then when his supporting cast wasn't as good, that was like a rising tide lifted that boat, but that was about it.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah.
Panarin,
he's not Panarin.
Very, very good.
Panarin's one of the top, 15 players in the entire league?
Yeah. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah. I mean, just...
If you watch the games the Flyers played against Columbus, especially the one latest, like he's so good. And then you imagine him playing on the Flyers with the pace we have now, and it's like, yeah, that could work. I can live with that.
He's going to make 10 or 11 million, and at least for the first 5-6 years, he'll be worth it. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give him that, no problem.
Yeah, I think the Flyers are at that point. So, yeah, so it should be interesting. They're going to have to trade somebody, depending, and we don't know who or what they're going to trade, what they're willing to do. Obviously, they're going to try and strike gold with at least one of the big free agents. I guess the other question that comes to mind, I think a clickbait article today on what is it? My Team app on Comcast about Farabee, and his coach is bragging on him and saying, "Oh, don't be surprised if he ends up with the Flyers at some point."
Yeah.
I think that's that would be great if he was that good. I think he needs to get stronger.
Yeah, I think that if you asked any coach about a player he has coached, if he's ready or not, he's gonna be like, yeah, for sure. So I'm not reading too much into that.
No.
It would be amazing because I think he's a really good player, and it's not gonna take too long before he's ready. But it's the same with Frost. Like I can't expect them to be ready. I want them to. I want them to be really good now. We just can't expect them to be.
No, it's not realistic. I mean, even if they show a lot in the exhibition games and first couple regular season games, we saw with Vorobiev. I mean, I'm not even sure Vorobiev is an NHL player now. I know he's an NHL talent, but his problem's between the ears.
Yeah.
So that's just, obviously Frost and Farabee and even Ratcliffe, for that matter, are like the top three guys that the Flyers have in their prospect pool. But
yeah.
So, anyway.
I wonder what's going to happen with Wade Allison and Tanner Lasinski.
That's another thing.
I don't know why they're not signed yet.
Yeah, we had Russ Cohen on, and I just was tweeting back and forth. Russ Cohen thinks right now Tanner Laczynski could play on the fourth line.
Yeah.
He's mature enough physically. He plays a well-structured game, and he's certainly better than what they have. And I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, if you know anything about the Flyers, the team that drafted you, and you see the draft that they're playing on fourth line, you got like, I'm better than that.
Yeah.
A mother effer. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even need them to be NHL ready. I just need them to restock the Phantoms. Same with the defense. The defense they have on Phantoms next year is terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you have Friedman and Brennan. That's about it. So they need to restock the whole team, because every good player they've had on the Phantoms is now with the Flyers, basically. Except obviously you have Rubtsov and Kasha and stuff like that. But so I just don't know why they haven't signed them yet.
Yeah, well, up front, they're going to be pretty stacked. If they sign, like, one of them, they're going to have a whole bunch of guys. They're going to have, what, Radcliffe, Frost, Farabee.
Strome.
Strome.
Yeah. Oh, he's making his debut today, I think.
Yeah. So, defense, they got a problem. So, if they don't buy out McDonald, he could always go down. I'm only kidding.
You think they're going to buy him out?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe for a second they're buying him out.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not buying it. I'm buying. That was not even intentional. I'm not buying it until they actually do it.
Exactly.
It just makes sense because they're not even playing him now.
Well, that's it. They're not playing him.
Before they played him, now they're not even playing him.
Yeah. Then again, you could say on the other hand, well, he's not playing Talbot enough either. But
yeah,
even when the playoffs possibility stopped, they're not playing McDonald unless they had to. For injury or whatever. Now, I think McDonald's getting bought out. I don't think there's any question with that. But that's just me. You know, I understand people are wounded and butthurt by that contract so much that they can't believe it until it's gone, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's just how it is.
Believe me, I hear you. Andrew McDonald, man.
Yeah, I am so tired of these borderline or AHL players. I'm so tired of them getting a spot. Like, they have so much cap space, and they already have like all these players and prospects and everything. Like, there's no reason why they shouldn't add more talent.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest obstacle is the kind of players that are going to be on that are going to be UFAs. The only other idea is with some of these RFAs, you get a team like Toronto, and you try to maybe get Kapanen to sign an offer sheet, and then you try to work out a trade if they think a trade is better. Now, I'll give up some talent for a young player like him.
Yeah, I'm all for spending draft picks and prospects.
Oh yeah,
I'm obviously not trading Frost or Farabee.
No.
I mean, there are some prospects that I really don't want to trade. I think a Radcliffe could be like someone you might want to hold on to, but they have so many prospects.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they traded, let's say they traded the rights for Wade Allison. I think Wade Allison is an intriguing player, but if they traded him and a first round draft pick for, let's say they did that for that defenseman they needed, or a first and a third or whatever. Let's say that Wade Allison is the prospect. Like, I could live with that.
Yeah. No,
it's
absolutely.
Because I think we all want to watch him play, but I think that you have to give to get. So I mean,
yeah, I mean, if the Flyers deal with a team that is kind of rebuilding, that's kind of the ideal situation for them. They should go to teams like Anaheim, and Anaheim gets rid of Montour, and they get Brendan Gooley and whatever. Which I don't know what Montour's issue was, but I like that player.
Yeah, I mean, if they traded for a Josh Manson, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's the kind of deal that they got to make.
Yeah.
Could you go to like Edmonton? Maybe could you? Nah, so they're not going to trade him. What's his name? Who's actually developed into a good player, Nurse. He's a good player.
Yeah, I don't think they will trade him.
No.
They have too many really, really bad players to start giving up their good ones.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna have to trade a guy like Draisaitl to get like a mother load of like good players. Is that a possibility?
I mean, they could. I think it depends who they get as a GM. I think if they get someone who has the same type of mindset as Hextall, or if they even get Hextall, I think he was rumored to be up for the job.
Yeah, I've heard
I
that.
think they would start doing these deals for like Arizona, for like cap space, or so they reach the cap floor and all that stuff. I could see them do that.
Yeah.
And then just starting to sign. If they can unload some salary, I think a good thing for them would be to add players like maybe a Nyquist, like a UFA, or actual NHL players, because they are so bad. If you've checked their whole team, the whole roster, it's so bad.
Stinks out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, they stink out loud. They're just, I don't, Chiapet is like one of the worst general managers I've ever seen. At least Hextall had some kind of build and foundation beneath what he was doing.
I mean, he did a great job for the future. Like, just look at what Fletcher got from him. The problem was that he didn't do anything on the current team.
Nope. Nah. Like we said in our last show, when you lose Kevin Allen's endorsement, like Hextall did, yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
He's very moderate and very level-headed, but so. Well, we were able to I guess call this a show, the O&B improv special, and so Johan, where can people find your work, and what are you doing?
I think right now I'm not really doing anything than complain on Twitter. Really, I think that Flyers Nation is sort of in a question mark mode right now. So right now I'm mainly on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is Johan Gärtner. I'm complaining about the team, like everyone else, hoping for a big summer.
Right, and you got the Flyers-podden, which is sometimes in English.
Yeah, sometimes we've had Charlie O'Connor on a couple of times from The Athletic. We've had Alexander Appleyard. So yeah, it's good fun. Most of the times it's in Swedish though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always a good time, and it's been a while since I was called a flaming asshole. So we'll see if that comes back.
Does Nick call you that?
No, that was because if you remember a while ago when the Flyers were not doing well, and Jonesy and the guys on Swedish TV where we watch it, we don't get the American commercials.
Oh,
okay, we basically get the hot micing. So we never cut to commercials, so we can hear them speak at times.
Oh, right, that hot mic thing, yeah.
Yeah, so I uploaded that video, and this guy started flaming me on Twitter and calling me a flaming asshole a bunch of times. So obviously, as the mature guy I am, I had to add that to my profile bio.
I could hear Nick. I'll do my Nick impression. So, Johan, you are a flaming asshole.
Yeah.
What is your response?
Yeah, that's pretty much spot on. So yeah, that was fun. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, we never have cursed on this show, but I guess tonight we make the exception.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man, we fucking shot it tonight. Forget it. So I'll just have to warn people.
Yeah, that's my bad. I don't have a filter. I kind of say what I think.
Well, neither do I. But I mean, it's just we got compliments for not cursing, so I'm gonna have to give a warning on the show.
Yeah,
but,
you can blame me. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Well, I just blew it. I could always edit, but I'm not. I don't edit. Tonight I'm not editing shit. We weren't even supposed to have a show, right, Dan?
Yeah.
And Chef got sick, and he's probably cursing tonight because I know exactly what he's going through.
If we all blame him, he's the problem.
Yes, the chef is it. He got a bad meal, and look what happens. We're all cursing. We all ate at the same place. I don't know how you did that in Sweden, but they have takeout. But anyway, Dan, tell us about Brotherly Pod and Brotherly Puck real fast.
That's right. You can find me on Twitter at Daily Flyer Fan. You can find the site at Brotherly Puck, brotherlypuck.com. You want to listen to all the podcasts that I do, you can do that at brotherly_pod. I will be back tomorrow night with the Anger and Negative Show with Jim. You can listen to last night's Brotherly Pod, which was appropriately titled Sisterly Pod with our first female guests. So that was always fun. Yeah, all kinds of new articles up on brotherlypuck.com as well. So you can check that out, including the autopsy of the 2018-19 Flyer season.
Excellent. And the O&B Puckcast is on so many formats. I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember all of them, but just if you could subscribe to our new YouTube channel, just go to YouTube, O&B Puckcast with the end, the symbol for end, and you'll find us. Subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. We're really excited about it. We might have video in the future, so if you're subscribed, you'll be surprised one day. Oh, my God. I can't even listen to these guys. They're so ugly. But anyway, no. But so subscribe to O&B Puckcast YouTube channel. And, we're still right now with PhillySportsNetwork.com. Check their stuff out. We'll see what kind of mood Liam is in this week. And also, we're with WildfireRadio.com, Wildfire Sports. We have a regular stream there. Go to wildfireradio.com and hit the drop-down menu. All of our shows are there. Our entire archive is there. So we're also on YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and Google Play, and brand new, drumroll, Spotify. There's so many places that you can catch the O&B Puckcast, and we really appreciate you listening. We had a great show last weekend. A lot of listens. Thank you, people. So until next time, everybody, let's go Flyers, and take care.